Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast here with Jessica Bunbun, and this is our interview with the Vampire Season 2, Episode 8 preview. The finale is ahead. We could not wait for this episode to arrive, so we have to start talking about it now. Our tears are finally starting to dry a little bit
Talk for
after
yourself.
after what happened to Claudia and
Oh,
Madeline. One of the
oh.
best episodes of this show. I think
Hmm.
one of the best episodes of the series. It's
Yep.
going to be one of these things that we're probably going to be very upset about when the Emmys decide to snub a lot of these people because for some reason they don't take shows like this seriously. It makes all of us collectively angry.
Yeah, it's going to be disappointing if we don't see this cast getting some love and this show getting some love from the Emmys, but that's the way the Emmys roll a lot of the times.
Yeah, and unfortunately it is. But we have so much to look forward to here story wise. And I think one
Yeah.
of the biggest questions we have to sort of sit back and think about at this point is how does Louis get out of this position? You know, he is locked up, he is covered, he is being shipped away, and yet in the promo, you see him out. You see him on a revenge tour. I know how much Jess loves revenge
I
tours.
do.
So we have had an opportunity already to see that, okay, somehow he's going to get out of this situation.
Yeah, so the biggest question we have for you guys, and if you have read the books and you know the answer to this is not what we want to know. It's for
Yeah.
everyone who hasn't read the books. How do you think Louis is actually going to get out of being locked up in this box with all these rocks on him? Is it going to be Lestat that's going to come and let him out? Is it going to be Armand that's going to come let him out? Is it going to be somebody else that comes and lets him
Mhm.
out? We know that he doesn't just end up stuck in this box full of rocks where he just starves. Like, he will get out.
Okay, so before we do go forward here, be sure to hit that subscribe button, smash that like button as well, because this weekend we are going to have a full review of the interview with the vampire finale. Let us cross our fingers and hope that we're not sobbing as much at the time that episode is over.
Also, if you want more interview with the vampire content, you can join our Patreon. We'll have a link for you below in the description where you can join there and have more conversations with us about the show.
Okay, let's start here with the question you posed a minute ago about how Louis ends up getting out of this situation. Like, to me, it feels like it has to be Armand, and I could easily be wrong, and I will own it and eat it 10 ways to Sunday. But I'm just thinking if you are Armand and you have just created this entire situation because of your own inability to quote unquote think of another way, or I could not prevent this, which, by the way, I do not believe a million times in the world. You could have just all fled somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, Armand, you suck. But I just feel like you have to figure out some sort of way to redeem yourself to Louis. Louis still around you in the present.
Yeah.
Is there any other way to get past this other than trying to actually show with actions instead of words that you're trying to make this right?
I actually wonder if it's going to end up being kind of a weird lie. If
Mhm.
it's going to be Lestat who ends up going and bringing him back to life and getting him out of there. But Armand is going to sort of end up like fogging his memory so that he ends up thinking that it was him, that maybe Lestat gets there first, but he doesn't want to give him the credit. So Armand ends up taking the credit. Because we did see in the preview, there's this moment where it's kind of like, you lied to me. So, I mean, like, that would be a lie that could come out.
I could see that. I can see Armand trying to do something a little bit cowardly and sneaky because let's be honest, this is a guy who has done this many times
Yeah.
before already, and then that's something that he also has to work his way out of, but maybe because he did technically try, that's enough to start to earn some forgiveness from Louis over time. I think the big question I have is if you're Lestat, like let's say Lestat actually does to, talk about your theory here. He is the one who ends up saving Louis. Where does he go after that? Why is he not just sticking around? Is it just still okay? You know what? I don't want you to be in this prison for the rest of your eternity, but at the same time, you did what you did to me way back when. I don't necessarily want to be around you long term either.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really know where Lestat is in the present or what he's doing now. So, what's going to end up happening? I mean, we know that this theater ends up burning to the ground.
Yeah.
We know from the preview, Louis, he's on a revenge tour. He's basically like, there's one of me, there's 13 of you. Let's go. I'm ready to rock and roll. So, he's going to be going after the whole coven, understandably so, after what they did to him, what they did to Madeline and Claudia. And, where is Lestat in all of this? Is he going to help burn that theater down? Is he just in the wind? Like, I don't know. The thing that I found the most interesting in this preview was seeing sort of all the rocks on top of Louis and seeing the drips of blood on there to help bring him back to life. That's why I'm just like, who is it? Who is doing this? Who is helping him?
I'm so unbelievably excited for all of this just because it could explore a new character dynamic between Louis and someone else where Louis may feel at least partially indebted to somebody, though if it's Armand who's saving him, I don't know how he can feel indebted to him given what Armand just did. But regardless, we are then shifting into what almost feels like we're going to see Louis go full Liam Neeson in one of his action movies, where I want to see a lot of action for Louis. We've seen a lot of just really thoughtful, emotional stuff from him throughout this season, and obviously Jacob Anderson is great at that. But let's shift into a little bit of a different gear now, because there's a sense of urgency. The longer that these Theatre des Vampires people are out there, the more danger Louis is going to be in. And I think Louis knows that they're not going to be happy if he got out of this punishment this quickly. So he has to take the element of surprise and hit them before they realize that he is out there, and then they can all start collectively plotting against him.
Yeah, because we hear him saying, do you want to know what we did with Claudia's ashes? So there is going to be some sort of conversation at some point. I mean, what did they do to her ashes? I don't want to know.
I
I
don't
I
want to know.
can't I can't imagine it's anything respectful.
No, Santiago has to get his. All these people in the theater,
Oh,
they
yes,
have to
he
get
does.
his. Like, it's just, I found Santiago a compelling enough character, but that does not mean I am rooting for him to survive this finale. I think all of these theater vampires, they're all going to go, and then we're just left in this position where some of our other main players are still out there.
Yeah, and I'm really curious now that, this last episode, I think we all sort of felt like Louis is telling mostly the truth. He's telling the truth from his perspective
Yes.
of things. But in the last episode, we had Lestat tell the truth of how Claudia got turned, and Louis be like, okay, Daniel, you need to take out what I said because this is the actual truth. So now it's kind of like, okay, now going forward, what's really real anymore? If he's going to be like, oh yeah, and then I burned the theater down, did he or did somebody else? Like, it's just, and then you've got Armand over here fogging everybody's memory. It's just, what is true?
Okay, I've used a lot of food metaphors on the channel lately, but the way I think about this one is it's sort of like a cooking class where Louis is trying to make the dish per all the instructions. He's trying to do the right thing. Armand has just gone to a takeout place, picked up the food, brought it back to the cooking class, and is sort of like, look what I've done, and trying to convince you that it's real.
Yeah,
I really think Louis is trying to tell an accurate story. It's just
he
human
is.
nature. There's always going to be issues in it. Now,
Well, there's going to be things that you forget, but I
yeah,
think there's also things that you feel ashamed about that you don't want to admit are true. You don't want to say things
yeah.
that you've pushed back in your memory. So you've changed sort of what actually happened in your own memory that you believe that it's true, even though it's not entirely true.
Let's talk about possible cliffhangers here, because it's already come out that a lot of season 3 would be based on the vampire Lestat, and with that in mind, Lestat's obviously going to have a big role in what's coming up. My dream cliffhanger here is, because of what we know, Lestat shows up there with Daniel, Armand, and Louis, and it's just sort of like, I'm ready to tell my story now. Dot dot. Dot. I don't know how Louis and Armand are going to feel about this, but I just think that would be great. I would love to see Lestat show up in the present here, or at least the present for the show.
Yeah, the thing that I really did like about the last episode was that we actually got to hear some stuff from Lestat's side and how he felt in this and the regrets that he had and the mistakes that he made and, how he felt about breaking Louis and that he did it on purpose and it's something he just lives in regret about. There's a lot that we don't know from his side of things.
There's also a really potentially tragic ending to this season in that I could, tinfoil hat on here.
Mhm, mhm.
I could see Talamasca showing up, rearing their head again. If they realize that Daniel is not going to ask all of these questions that he's supposed to ask during this interview, do they just try to shut the interview down? Do they try to take out Daniel, try to eliminate whatever research he has, and then everybody's just sort of left to their own devices? Or is it crazy that Lestat could be connected in some ways to Talamasca at this point? Because we don't know hardly anything on the show about Talamasca. Yes, there's another spinoff and all that coming, but we can't wait to a spinoff to get answers on something that this show has set up. The spinoff can be its own thing. I need clarity on what's going on with them and Daniel now.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the interview is going to just get shut down because they're going to figure out that someone's listening in and that Daniel hadn't told them. Maybe he'll try to deny it, but it won't really matter because they can read his mind.
Yeah.
But that maybe that's going to be where the cliffhanger is going to come in, that it's going to be like, okay, cool. So we know that this is happening. Interview is shut down for right now.
Yeah, this episode has to be one where there are some significant actions taken, because if we are shifting the focus somewhat entering season 3, there
Yeah.
has to be a way to justify that. But I think along with justifying that, we do need a little bit of closure for this era of the show, because no matter what form it takes, there's a part of me that's always going to miss what we've had. And what we've had is a really just emotional, beautiful at times story about what Louis has gone through. And yes, Louis is not perfect. Louis has made a number of mistakes, but he's also endured so many constant tragedies throughout his existence that he's such an easy character to sympathize with. And that's just why I'm going to miss this show, but I'm also going to miss this version of the show if season 3 takes us on a very different road.
Louis is just a character that's so easy to love, like not just sympathize with. For me, just absolutely love. There's something really interesting about seeing
Hmm.
a vampire who's, a natural born killer
Hmm.
have all these human feelings and emotions that he's still very much in touch with, that he's trying to hold on to some of his humanity and balance that with his instincts of being a killer. And it's a very difficult thing to be able to balance, and he's been able to give me all of that in this character. Like, I like Lestat,
Hmm.
but I love Louis. And going into season 3, I mean, if there's no Louis or little Louis and it's only Lestat, it's gonna be a hard pill for me to swallow because Louis is my guy. And I know there's lots of people who love Lestat out there, and he's an interesting character too. But I just love Louis.
I will say this as well about Claudia, a character who I love, but I'm trying to tell myself that yes, she's gone, but is she really fully gone? Because we've seen these vampires conjure up people in their minds, they have memories. I still think there is a chance that we're going to see Claudia in some sort of spectral form moving forward, even if it's just like an episode or two. That I'm holding out a little bit of hope for that. And I think it would be touching if she shows up in the
Yeah.
finale, but there's also a part of me that does feel like that her death was so heart-wrenching that that may need to be the last memory we have of her.
She did basically say that if there's an afterlife, even if there isn't, she's coming back because she's going to haunt everybody for the rest of their lives. She's seen everybody's faces. So if we're going into next season with this all being about Lestat, that could be a way to bring her back, that she could be haunting him.
I wouldn't mind. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Interview with the vampire producers who are clearly watching this video so far
Right.
into it. But no, we will be back, of course, to discuss the interview with the vampire finale.
Yes.
We are really, really excited to do that. We hope you guys hit that subscribe button, like this video. We don't want you to miss out. Also, join our Patreon. We have a link in the description below for more Interview with the Vampire content. And thank you so much to those of you
Thank
who
you.
have joined. We will see you guys next time.